Welcome to the First Plymouth District Candidate Forum for State Representative. I'm Julie Thompson, your host. I want to take a moment to thank our candidates for participating in this forum and bringing this informational programming to residents and voters this election season. First, I want to explain the format. Tonight, the two candidates for State Representative for the First Plymouth District, Incumbent Representative Matthew Muratore and Stephen Michael Palmer, will be participating. Each candidate will be introduced in alphabetical order. They'll have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and speak about who they are and why they're running for this elected office, as well as describing their qualifications for the position. The candidates will then be asked a series of questions related to state and local issues. They will have up to 3 minutes to answer each question. After, there will be a post-response point-counterpoint, if you will, where the candidates can interact with each other, given a maximum of 2 minutes each. Candidates will be hearing the questions for the first time and will not receive coaching or information to assist in answering. They appear alone in the studio. Members of their campaign staff are not present in the room. The forum will close with each candidate having the opportunity to make closing remarks. Closing remarks will also be held to a 3-minute time frame. This will not be a debate per se, but rather an opportunity for the candidates to let voters know who they are and where they stand on the certain issues. Thank you. You ready to begin? Okay, we're going to start with opening statements. Mr. Muratore, you are up first. You have 2 minutes.
Great. Thank you so much, Julie, and thank you for PACTV for having this forum. I'm Matt Muratore, and I've had the privilege of representing the folks of the First Plymouth District since 2014 in the House of Representatives. I'm a proud husband and father of 6 beautiful daughters, 3 of which are in local public schools. My wife, Kristen, is a local elder law attorney, and we live in South Plymouth. Up on Beacon Hill, I've had a successful track record of advocating for our community on issues including economic growth, healthcare, housing, local aid, and tourism initiatives. I'm a relationship builder who works in collaboration with colleagues on both political sides and with the Baker-Polito administration to get things done for the people of Plymouth and all the residents of the Commonwealth. Among our legislative highlighted accomplishments this session included that we've secured or supported over $1 million in funding for Plymouth Tourism, Arts and Culture, $3 million for Warren's Cove Seawall, $3 million for roads and bridges, over $170,000 for Complete Streets grant for Main Street, $100,000 for the Massachusetts Chronicles, over $315,000 in workforce skill grants for Plymouth South High School, Auto Tech and Collision Program, and much more. As a small business owner with a long-time background in elder care and early childhood education, I understand firsthand the concerns of small businesses, senior citizens, families, and the taxpayer. I bring this broad base of experience to the State House. We have worked to support numerous bills to assist residents, business, schools, and municipalities impacted by the COVID-19. I ask for your vote on Tuesday, November 3rd, and prior, so I can continue to advocate for you on Beacon Hill. And again, thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer, you have 2 minutes for your opening.
Good day. My name is Stephen Michael Palmer. I'm a moderate Democrat, no liberal here. Been elected town meeting members for 2 towns, Braintree and Plymouth. Presently a member of the Redevelopment Authority. I run that as the chairman. Appointed trustee of the Plymouth Affordable Housing Trust, along with Plymouth Community Housing Incorporated. Democratic Party in Plymouth has asked me to run for this seat. Said I would. I don't think anyone should run unopposed, for we always can strive for a betterment. The Massachusetts House of Representatives in 2017 first order of business was pay raises for themselves. Speaker DeLeo boasted his raise 50% to $169,000. That is 10 times the average citizen makes. Massachusetts state payrolls has grown $7.4 billion. 18,000 people make $100,000 a year. Over 900 make $200,000. Medium state workers paid over $57,000. Whatever happened to integrity? Business as usual, for we need someone to speak up, stand up against the status quo and the establishment. As a town meeting member in Plymouth, I voted for the cost of living for police and fire, full-time preschool pilot money from Herring Pond, Watershed Association, and funds that would be dedicated to the environment projects like land and water. Voted for the CPA funds to go to restore historical buildings. I'm concerned about fiscal responsibility.
Okay, thank you. And now we're going to go to our first question, which is followed by a response time for each candidate. In the current political climate, from the local to the national level, we are seeing much divisiveness. How, as a state representative, would you address the polarization we see in our communities? Mr. Palmer, we're going to start with you, and you have 3 minutes.
You know, I'm not here today to talk about troublesome international affairs, or am I here to talk of the large domestic problems and consideration in our nation's capital? You know, those problems of the world seem to us large, uncomprehendable, unmanageable, and out of touch with our day-to-day lives. The fact is that, you know, we have to go with electricity for cars. We have to get away from coal. The ozone has a hole in it. Fact is that the fires in California would possibly be, extinguished if there was rain. Oregon got rain today. The fact is that, you know, I think the canal in Plymouth, the current there can be catched with energy. I think we have to you have to look out of the box with the mainstream of life. You know, it's the quality of life isn't the way it is, and it's not getting any better. So we have to come up with different solutions and ideas that can help the environment.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Muratore, do you want the question repeated?
Please.
Okay. So the question is, in the current political climate, from the local to the national level, we are seeing much divisiveness. How, as a state representative, would you address polarization that we see in our communities?
Yeah,
you have 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's unfortunately it's getting worse over the years. When I was first elected in 2010 as a selectman, I always went with telling people, vote for the person, not for what the party they're with. And I think that's so much true on the state level as well. I vote for things that I think are the right things to do for the people of Plymouth, and not what the politically correct thing to do is. And I think we've gotten away from actually being able to reach across the aisle and help our constituents. I don't think so much here in Massachusetts that's the case, and particularly here in Plymouth I don't think that's the case, but nationally it is. To the point that I really have stopped watching much national news anymore. I think it's despicable what's happening on the national level, and we need to be able to agree to disagree. We need to be able to work together for the betterment of people, as I said, and I think whichever side of the aisle you're on, I think when Ted Kennedy passed away, I think that got all lost. Ted Kennedy was able to reach across the aisle and get things done. Tip O'Neill, same way. There's so many people, John McCain, so many people could do that, but that's not there anymore. I think there are too many egos that get in the way sometimes, and everyone's looking to win. Nobody's looking to compromise, and I think we really need to get back to that compromise and remember why we're elected. We're elected to represent the people and make the best decisions based on what they want, not what I want as an elected official.
Okay, thank you. Now, we're going to give each candidate 2 minutes for a response. Mr. Palmer, do you want to have a response to Mr. Muratore?
Sure. The fact is that Matt said that he crosses the aisle. Fact is, I brought this little article. It's in the Patriot Ledger, and Matt has never crossed the aisle. He has 100% rate on voting Republican, as he is told, with the Republican Party. So, Matt, I don't see where you cross the aisle. You have never crossed the aisle, Matt. 100% voting the way they tell you to do. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Muratore?
Yeah, it's absolutely false.
It's right here, Matt.
I don't care what the Patriot Ledger says. It's
Okay.
absolutely false. If you actually
You
go look,
must have to slander them.
do I have my 2 minutes?
Yes, you do. You have
Thank
2 minutes.
If you actually look at my voting record, I vote the way I think is the right thing to do for the people of Plymouth. If you look at Republican slate, there's 31 of us in this last session, and you'll see that I'd say maybe 90% of the time I do, because I think it's the right
says
thing to do.
100% in the paper.
It's not correct. It's absolutely not correct.
Okay.
So I think if you actually look at the voting record, you look at the bills that have been passed, and I'm proud of my voting record. I have voted over 1,300 consecutive votes. I've never missed a vote in the 6 years that I've been there. And it really is, as a Republican, it's actually easier to vote as your conscience and what you want to do. Unlike, as Mr. Palmer brought up with Speaker DeLeo, if you're a Democrat, it's very difficult to go against the Speaker and go against that status quo. 125 people are Democrats, and there's 31 of us that are Republicans. So, I mean, you can do the math, but we're able to do what we want to make decisions, and never been pressured by Governor Baker or Leader Jones.
All right, thank you. Now we're going to move on to question number 2. What do you feel are the top 3 most relevant issues that need to be addressed right now? And we're going to start with you, Mr. Muratore, and you will have 3 minutes.
Is that in Plymouth?
As a representative.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
I think there are a number of issues that have to be addressed. I think obviously the pandemic that we're in right now is one issue. But then that trickles down to a number of other issues, the economy. I just came out today that in the state of Massachusetts, we are the 6th highest unemployment rate in the country right now. It was the 1st, it's now dropped down, so we're getting better. It's a little over 11% right now. So I think we have to give more confidence, get more jobs back for people, but we have to do it in a smart way, using the data and the science and not the dates to actually open things up. I think Governor Baker's done a tremendous job at doing that. Has it hurt the economy? Absolutely it's hurt the economy, but it's helped the overall health of all of us. I also think housing, and I know Mr. Palmer leads the housing here in Plymouth and has done a great job here. And I think housing is another issue, and it goes hand in hand with the economy as well. Because if you have affordable housing for people, then you can actually grow your economy. And the third one I think is education. And I get concerned again with COVID and education and what's happening. We were able to pass some significant education money this past session. Hopefully it's going to be able to come out, but we don't know what the budget's going to be in the state yet. But I think I fear that we're going to lose track with hybrid models and with remote learning, et cetera. But I know we can't do anything about it at this point. But I think we've got to keep an eye on that in education and making sure we're allocating the funds in the right way to keep our kids educated.
Okay. Mr. Palmer, you have 3 minutes. Same question. The 3 top things you'd work on.
Well, I'm going to wrap that up on my 3-minute ending. I had that ready, but I will take some time to talk about other situations that have come to my mind in the town of Plymouth. Is that going to start working for the
Oh, I'm
time?
so sorry. Thank you, sir.
That's
Go ahead.
Because I look at that.
Yes, thank you. Sorry.
All right, that's okay. So, the fact is that, I've been living in Plymouth for 24 years now. And, the fact is that I've done a lot of work in that town. I do community service. I pick up trash and cut grass. And, the fact is that, Plymouth is a beautiful town, and we've kind of overbuilt it in a way. Plymouth's running out of water. They have to dig for another well now. The fact is that the school budget is over $100 million a year. I think that's a little too high. The fact is that exit 6 and exit 7 that I use constantly. I work in Plymouth now. I work at the Pine Hills up at Merbeau at that hotel. It's a 4-star hotel. I've been there for 2 years, so I don't have to go back and forth to Boston every day, and that's a great relief for me because over the 23 years that I have lived in Plymouth, I had to go back and forth to Boston every day, and I put over 1 million miles on 3 different cars. So to get out of my bed and go to work is wonderful. And I get to see the town a little more. I travel around in the neighborhoods, etc. But I feel that the people that come to Plymouth and the tourist industry and come to see the Rock and the Mayflower, and they come off exit 6 and exit 7, And by the 4th of July, the grass is as high as an elephant's eye. And the fact is that, you know, it's deplorable sometimes. Trash is everywhere. And what are people going to think? You know, my wife, God rest her soul, she lived in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and the roads were so much cleaner. And the reason why I started picking up trash was my mother-in-law used to come down to my house in the Ponds of Plymouth and say, who throws this out, Steve? You know, why don't they cut this grass? You know, and here's a woman who's in her 90s, you know, and she sees this. So she sees it, you know, everybody else sees it. And I feel it could help the tourist industry if they just, you know, cut the grass, manicure it, take the weeds out, pick up the trash. I only can do what I can do, you know. But just the fact is that, you know, we've got a long way to go in this town.
Okay. Mr. Muratore, you have 2 minutes for a response.
Yes, thank you. One other issue I want to bring up is healthcare as well. Again, with this pandemic, healthcare is a crisis that we're in, and how we get out of this is going to be through a lot of hard work, through a lot of smart work. One of the smartest things I think we've done is done telehealth, which helped reduce some of the costs of healthcare. We need to look at prescriptions and help get the cost of prescriptions under control for people so they can afford it as well. And here in Plymouth, I'm glad Mr. Palmer brought this up, is tourism. As the ranking minority leader on tourism, the Joint Committee on Tourism, Arts and Culture, that's our #1 industry here. And that's something that almost on a daily basis I work on here in this community, that we need to continue to enhance our tourism opportunities here. I remember Dennis Hank, when he was with the Chamber years ago, used to talk about every year we should add one more attraction to the town to keep people staying longer. And I think we've been doing that. I think we've been doing a good job. Unfortunately, with the Plymouth 400 this year, you know, got put on hold a little bit. But I think it will come back. It's going to be slow, but I think it will come back. You know, starting in 2021, 2022. But we have positioned ourselves in a great way with working with Michelle Pecoraro for the Plymouth 400, Lee Filson with Sea Plymouth. We are positioned in a way to actually right now get people locally from the Cape, from Boston, from Providence to come and start looking at Plymouth and coming using Plymouth as a tourism area. And we're starting to see the numbers come back. Again, they won't be back to what they used to be, but they will eventually. So tourism is our #1 issue, which has helped bring in the tax dollars for us.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Palmer, you have 2 minutes for a response.
Am I supposed to respond against Matt, or do I have my?
Well, it was basically, the question was about the top 3 things that you were going to work on.
Yeah.
As a state representative, and you both gave your 3-minute answer, and then
right.
he added a couple things, and then he responded to something you said about tourism.
I understand now. The fact is that, you know, the power plant is closed. And the fact is that there's a lot of land there. There's a lot of ocean. And the fact is that we could use that ocean as well as land. My idea would be to put a new terminal there that would take the freight trucks off the bridges over to the terminal, if they build it, when they build it, and take them out to the vineyard and take them out to Nantucket. Because the majority, when I ran for state senate, I found most of the people in Falmouth said, get those freight trucks off Palmer Ave, you know. And I campaigned down there many times, and a solution came up. This isn't my idea. I heard this idea of one of the board members that I serve under, and he is on the Steamship Authority. And the fact is that it's possible because the roads are there. If you can build a power plant there and have it the way it is, you can have the freight trucks get on a ferry and get over to the islands during the summer. That was you know, looking out of the box to see what we're going to do. I have toured the power plant myself when I was a town meeting member. That was my precinct. It took me an act of Congress to get in there. There's a lot of land there. And we're running out of land in Plymouth.
Okay, thank you. The next, we're going to go on to our 3rd question. In the 2-year term of a state representative, your responsibilities, among other things, is to introduce bills and resolutions, offer amendments, and serve on committees. Some of your duties have a direct impact on your constituents. What would you focus on to support the members of the communities that you serve that would have a positive effect on their lives? Mr. Palmer, we're going to start with you, and you have 3 minutes.
I have 2 children, and one graduated from high school last year, and the other one graduated from college, summa cum laude. And I was very proud of that. And I'm also proud of the public school system on the way it has offered courses to have my children success. And the fact is that in my house, you were either police, plumbers, or politicians. We call it the 3 Ps. And the fact is my son is a plumber now. He took 3 years at the trade school and the tech school at Plymouth South, and he's excelled, and he's working for a plumbing company. And my daughter is on her way to grad school. And, you know, I plant flowers in front of that school because I'm so proud of it, you know, and I make sure it looks better, you know, because even the prison in Plymouth has flowers out front. And it's just the fact is I'm very proud of that. And I would see if I could get some additional funding for agriculture in the Plymouth school system. You know, you have electricity, you have plumbing, and you have carpentry, etc. But, you know, the agriculture in Plymouth isn't there. You know, I traveled up to the Catskills with a friend of mine, and you saw all the farms that were abandoned, you know, and it breaks my heart to see it. But the fact is, you know, years ago when I first moved to Plymouth, there was corn growing on that site up near the courthouse. And they don't do that anymore. I think that we should have an agricultural program in the school system that could teach children to grow. Cranberry bogs, too. The fact is, I know Matt's very familiar with that also. And the fact is that this is what we need. You know, more and more, I was listening to John Mahoney, and he was saying that, you know, trades are where it's going to be. You know, how many, you know, we have 18 million people out of work now. You know, people have to eat, and I just feel that if we had an agricultural program at the 2 high schools, I think it would benefit everyone, my constituents.
Thank you. Matt, you want me to repeat the question? Or are you okay?
Yes, please.
Okay. Can we go back to that? So, in the 2-year term of a state representative, your responsibilities, among other things, are to introduce bills and resolutions, offer amendments, and serve on committees. Some of your duties have a direct impact on your constituents. What would you focus on to support the members of the communities that you serve that would have a positive effect on their lives? You have 3 minutes.
Great, thanks. So as a state rep, I've actually lobbied to be on 2 particular committees because I think they're helpful to our community, the community of Plymouth. One is the Tourism Committee. As I indicated, I'm the ranking minority leader on the Joint Committee on Tourism, Arts, and Culture. And I think that has been advantageous to us, as I indicated, been able to secure over $1 million in arts and culture and tourism related issues here in the town of Plymouth, which again goes to bringing in the tax dollars, the sales tax dollars, which helps the town in a lot of ways. So that's our number 1 industry. So I think that's important, and I'll continue to do that. The second one is I lobbied for and have been on for 3 years as the assistant minority leader on the Healthcare Financing Committee. And particularly now with COVID and my background in healthcare, I think it's going to be more important to actually be on that committee. And we've been doing a lot remotely now, but there's going to be a lot more things we're going to need to do going forward with healthcare. So I'll continue to lobby on that as well. And this past term, I also lobbied to be on the Municipality Committee, which is the Joint Committee on Municipalities, which is actually hears bills and oversees bills and presents bills with regards to cities and towns. And one of the things that we've been able to do during this COVID crisis, I was able to co-sponsor a bill that actually secured language that would allow for a remote town meeting. As you know, PACTV has been involved with town meeting. Mr. Palmer has as well. And so we were able to secure that by being on that committee, I think has helped. And I work all the time with the Board of Selectmen, the town manager, the department heads on issues that they need throughout the community, the superintendent, and we work in collaboration all the time to try to secure whatever funds we need to help with the growth of the community.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Palmer, you have 2 minutes to kind of do a response to what Matt just said.
No, I agree with Matt. You know, Matt's done a good job. I feel, you know, there's a lot of things that I'd probably do different. It's just the fact is that you know, Matt's a good family man, and you know I respect him. It's just the fact is that I'm running because I think I could do a better job. It's just the fact is that there's so many things that should be done and they're not getting done in the town. And I'm going to be more of a hands-on person in the town. I was never appointed to the Finance Committee, but I feel that someone has to go in and look at the books. You know, I have to say a fact is about Stevens Field. It's a field down in the back of the old town hall. Maybe you're familiar with it, but the fact is that $5 million was approved, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, and nothing gets done. You know, construction sites in the town of Plymouth go on for months upon months upon months, and you know, it irks me to no end. There was one on Clark Road that I protested for 2 days straight, 6 hours a day, in the 87-degree heat. You know, had the straw boater on and the signs, and you know, people stopped and said, "When is this going to get done? Why is it this way?" Well, after the protest, they got it done within 2 months, and it works great.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Muratore, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think you're probably not going to find anybody more hands-on than I am in this job. You know, prior to COVID, I was out at everything. I got teased a lot by my former colleague Vinnie DiMacedo that you know I would go to a ribbon cutting of an envelope. You know, but the point is that this is my community. I love this community. My kids have grown up here, continue to grow up here. This has been our home for over 20 years. And I'll get involved in everything that's going on. Anything I can get involved in, I'll get involved with. Today, I was out at 2 events today. Socially distanced, wearing masks, but I was out at a couple events today. You know, being involved with Rotary, I'm a member of the Rotary, member of the Chamber, member of the Board of Directors here at PACTV. We've done, during COVID, 65 shows that I've been doing. In some cases, we were doing straight days of these. So I don't think you can find anybody that's more involved with the community than I am, more dedicated, and just loves the job that I love the job that I do, and I love this community, and I'll continue to do that in my next term.
Okay. Now we go on to question 4. Of all the committees that you could serve on as a state representative, which ones do you think would have the most impact on your district? Each candidate will have 3 minutes. Mr. Muratore, you go first.
Well, there's one committee that I've always lobbied for every single term, the last 3 terms that I've on. It's the Ways and Means. And I think with my small business background and with being on the Finance Committee here in the town of Plymouth for 5 years, knowing the state, the town budget, knowing business budgets, and getting involved in the state budget, I think would be ideal, particularly where Senator DiMacedo is no longer with us as a state senator, and so we don't have a representative from Plymouth. We always had that representation for a number of years. Vinnie was on the Ways and Means, for at least 12 years. So we always were used to that. So I'm going to again lobby to try to be on Ways and Means. I think that one and the tourism one that I talked about earlier. Tourism being our number one resource here in the community for the tax base is just ideal for us. And I think continue to be on that tourism committee. And being the ranking member would be, I think, beneficial to all of us. And, you know, healthcare, too. I'm going to go back to that one for a minute, too, because I think with Representative Hunt actually leaving the state rep job, that opens up the ranking minority leader's position on healthcare finance. I'm the assistant right now, so I'm hoping I'll be able to move up on that. And I think that can help us here in Plymouth and as well in the Commonwealth with healthcare.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Palmer, you have 3 minutes.
I have to bring up a fact that when I was married, my wife used to give me $80 a week for gas, back and forth. I had a little Ford Escort station wagon that I loved. It was like a sled. But she paid all the bills. You know, I had worked, I'm a 7-day worker, worked 7 days a week for 23 years of my life. And the fact is I worked at Tufts Medical 16 hours on Saturday, 16 hours on Sunday. I ran 825 apartments at Avalon at the Prudential Center. So I don't want to get off the point, but the fact is that I didn't know how much things really cost, you know, at that time in my life. Because I was raising kids and, you know, working and, you know, paying the mortgage and the taxes. And then she passed away, God rest her soul. And I found out how much things really cost now. I found out, you know, Wham, you know, Eversource. I mean, years ago, the telephone bill, the electricity bill. So I like to go into utilities and say, listen, why are all these fees here? You plug the thing in the wall, okay? There's no service charge. There shouldn't be any, you know, transmission charge. I didn't know electricity had a transmission, okay? It's not my house, okay? You know, and the fact is that, you know, the cable TV, I mean, Eversource is a $2 billion company. You know, they don't need to keep feeing me, okay? You get one cost here, and then the rest of it's the whole page. It's ludicrous. Now, who am I supposed to complain to that? Should I call Matt? Or should I call my president? You know, I like to come in and take the horns from the bull and say, what's going on? Cable, the same thing. I mean, I'm stuck on Andy and Mayberry. You know, I use two channels, 3 channels, but yet they're charging you for all that. You know, it's the FCC. You know, these people are thieves. They're taking my money. They don't need my money. It's a $3 billion company, and they still take hundreds of dollars. That's just me. Compare it to everybody else. Oh, it's only $1.04. Yeah, add that to 3 million people per month. They're getting away with murder. They're taking the food from my mouth, from the average working class person. That's what I am, the average guy. They're taking it from me, they're taking it from everybody, and it's got to stop. Someone has to stand up, speak up, and fight against the establishment.
Okay, thank you. Matt, 2 minutes for a response?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yes. Well, the question was about the committees that you would choose to serve on. And you answered about...
Oh, yeah, that's right,
ones,
okay.
Yeah, and Mr.
I'm all set.
No response?
No,
Okay.
sorry.
I don't have a response.
Nothing else to speak to
I
on
think Matt's
that.
doing a good job
Okay.
with what he does, and I feel confident that, you know, he's diligent and et cetera.
Okay, thank you. Our final question. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes for their remarks, and there will not be a response afterwards. Here's the question. What have you learned about your opponent in this race so far, and even in this forum, that you did not know beforehand? We're going to start with Mr. Palmer. You have 2 minutes.
Well, I still have to bring this up that, you know, Matt went on and, you know, oh, Mr. McLean crossed the aisle, and, you know, Ted Kennedy crossed the aisle. You know, Matt, you know Ted Kennedy and you know Mr. McLean. I just feel that, you know, the 100% stands in my mind. People have read it. It goes out to thousands and thousands of people. So maybe you should start crossing the line, Matt. Thank you.
Okay, and Matt, you will have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, I want to repeat again, that is not accurate. 100%. I have crossed the aisle. I have not voted 100% with the Republican Party on a number of issues. With regard to what I've learned about Mr. Palmer is that he's the chair of the Redevelopment Authority here in Plymouth, and I do know, again, that's one of the issues that I think is we need more work on is housing, affordable housing for seniors, for low-income people, you know, for disability people. I've been working with, I've been a member of the Workability Subcommittee for the Joint Committee on Children's Families and Persons with Disabilities with Representative Josh Cutler over the last couple of years. And that's one of the things we're looking at is how to get those folks to work, how to get housing for them as well. So I applaud Mr. Palmer for what he's doing with housing in Plymouth, and we'll continue on the state level to help the town of Plymouth with that.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we're going to give you 3 minutes for your closing remarks. Feel free to speak directly to your camera and address your voters and constituents. Mr. Muratore, you are first with
It
your...
says 2 minutes on the screen.
No, I haven't changed it yet.
Okay.
There we go, 3 minutes. Mr. Muratore, your closing remarks, you have 3 minutes.
Great, thank you so much. And again, thank you so much, Julie, and the folks here at PACTV for putting this on. I bring a broad range of experience to this job. Prior to this, obviously, being on the Finance Committee in the town of Plymouth, being on the Board of Selectmen, being a business person, owning a child daycare center, owning a healthcare company for seniors. So I think I have a good round wealth of knowledge. And being as a member of the State House as a state rep for Plymouth over the last 3 terms, I think I've been able to show and to demonstrate to folks that I am here working 100% with regard to with folks in Plymouth, and will continue to do that. There's been some other funding that we've been able to secure and to get for the town of Plymouth, including $72,000 for the MVP program, $37,000 for the Ginny Grist Dam removal that Mr. Mr. Palmer brought up. Mr. Mahoney has been leading for a number of years, so we've been really sponsoring and securing money for the dam removals. We've secured over $200,000 for town of Plymouth Foothill Preserve and Tidmarsh Trails, and trails are another great source of tourism for our community. We've secured IT bond bill that include $200,000 for the Plymouth Fire Tower and $250,000 for the Plymouth Public Schools, education and infrastructures. And the list goes on and on. Passed legislation to improve children's health and wellness. We passed Nikki's Law. So there's so many things that we've been able to do. And we've been able to do that, and I've been able to do a lot of things here because I'm able to work across the aisle. I'm able to work with people in collaboration to get things done. So I ask for your vote again on November 3rd, or if you vote early, which I'm sure a lot of you will, please consider me for your vote for State Rep Matt Muratore. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Mr. Palmer, your 3-minute closing statement, please.
I'm very concerned about Plymouth. Living here for 24 years now, property taxes have reached a breaking point. Town manager makes more than the mayor of LA, which selectmen approve. State government has taken 5% of my dollar. Federal government takes 12% of the dollar. Town of Plymouth cost me and my family over $100 a week to breathe their air. For I remember when a phone call was a dime. I remember when TV was free. Healthcare and dental was covered by your employer if you worked 40 hours. But today, to have a phone, healthcare, dental is $9,000 a year, and I don't even get sick. Housing will be my main concern. With a 5-year waiting list for a 1-bedroom, 3-year waiting list for a 2-bedroom, 4-year wait for a 4-bedroom. After 50 years, most towns in Massachusetts have failed their goals with affordable housing under 40B. Looking around Plymouth and serving on these boards, I see plus 55 developments from one end to the town of the other. Business as usual for 40B is not for profit. It is for people. The pursuit of happiness, serving the public, we owe it to them. Massachusetts is still Taxachusetts. In the last 20 years, our state budget has gone from $20 billion to $42 billion, with only $300 million for Chapter 90 for local towns and bridges for repair. Crumbs from a king's table. After the state budget spending goes, most of the state budget goes to Mass Health that serves seniors, children, public employees' pension. Switching gears now. Now, the emergency NRC, emergency plan for a 10-mile radius around the power plant was funded by the Massachusetts budget at $2 million a year, but it has been eliminated. I will fight to get this back. My name is Stephen Michael Palmer. I'm tired of hearing things from uptight, short-sighted, narrow-minded hypocrites. I hope you heard some truth today, and I thank you for your future actions on behalf of the Democratic Party, the party that will once and for all stand for and the fine people of this Commonwealth. So help me God.
Thank you both for participating in this forum. We wish you both the best of luck throughout your campaign and in the election. For our viewers, thank you for joining us. If you want to watch this forum again, visit pactv.org/election for replay times on PACTV's channels and on YouTube. And please make your choices heard by voting in the general election on Tuesday, November 3rd. Thank you and good day.